All right, let me guess. Snyderverse people are losing their minds again. I'm just gonna preface this video really quickly. I'm not a Zack Snyder hater. I'm far from it, actually. There are movies that he makes that I liked. 300. I also like the Snyder Cut. I thought it was a relatively fine movie. Maybe way too long for his taste. You could have shaved down an extra hour a little bit. It's 4 hours long, but I still enjoy the fucking movie regardless. Then there's Watchmen. Peak adaptation. That's one of the only adaptations of Watchmen right now on the market that I actually liked. I saw clips of the animated version and I'm like, just some of the scenes don't hit as hard as the Zack Snyder version. I am praising this man right now. Dawn of the Dead, great film, great movie. He also did that with James Gunn. I think James Gunn wrote it and Zack Snyder directed the movie, and the running zombies couldn't be any more terrifying. 300. Just a lot of good Zack Snyder movies do exist. Hopefully I didn't name any duplicates. I probably did. And then there's some terrible ones like Rebel Moon, where all the fights seem to be in slow motion, and we're talking about a slow motion, gritty, mature, air quotes, Star Wars ripoff, and most of the fights are in slow-mo, and these people are gabbing on about grain for a living, and I hated it. Then we move on to Army of the Dead, a movie that was really, really boring and full of talking for the first half of the movie all the way to the middle when shit started to get a little bit more interesting, but it was a little too late when we got to that point. Like, Batista was awesome in that film, but all of the talking killed me. The encampment scenes are so boring in Army of the Dead that I was just like, why? Where's the fun at? Like, where's the good pacing? None. It doesn't exist. And then Batman v Superman, a complete character assassination of Batman's personal intelligence, because Batman is a fucking idiot in Batman v Superman. And I hated that film. Superman going around and threatening Batman, not trying to say, oh, I'll stop you or whatever, the typical Boy Scout heroic shit that Superman does. The bat is dead, buried, consider this mercy. What the fuck going on? And then these Snyderverse people are saying that James Gunn's Superman is the imposter, when in all the footage I've seen, this Superman is acting like Superman, being cheesy. Oh, let's jump back into the fray. Just cheesy one-liners, a little bit of a jokey humor here or there, but some uplifting positivity for the Superman. And then we have people going on their psycho drivel, their psycho spill. Not all Snyderverse people are the most terrible people in the world, but there are a good ton of them that I believe belong in a mental asylum if they are a super extremist just like this. Number one, they want to post spoilers of the movie everywhere for Superman, and this just proves that, well, you're being a dick for spoiling a movie that people want to see. What is the purpose and intent of doing this without looking like an asshole, right? That's strike number one. These are just strikes from what I saw on this Reddit post of the most extreme side of the Snyder Cut people. And it says, post spoilers everywhere. People are less likely to see or enjoy the movie if it's already spoiled. You do realize that there are some people that don't mind being spoiled to a piece of content, and they will enjoy it regardless. I was spoiled to The Last of Us Part 2. I enjoyed the game regardless, right? I'm a prime example. Look at me. Spoiled to oblivion and back in my own Discord server. I enjoyed the game after I played it. Therefore, that doesn't always work. That's not always effective. That's not really the most bold strategy, because again, you could have people that will see that and go, well, I'm gonna see this movie out of spite anyway, just to spite this person because he tried to fuck up my experience. Strike number one. Strike number two, leave bad ratings on review sites. We know for sure Gunn bots will post fake positive reviews, so we must let people know the truth and balance the bias out with realistic scores. Okay, I'm gonna be frank with you. When something is manufactured, it's easy to tell from a mile away, and that goes double for review bombs. When people tried to do this with Silent Hill 2, it was easy to see from a mile away that that shit was being slightly review bombed. All right, it's common knowledge whenever someone goes on the whole anti-woke crusade and they decide to review bomb something, it's very obvious that 9 times out of 10 you're gonna see that person say something, say it's trash, woke, or whatever, and more or less that person probably hasn't watched or engaged with said product, and it's very obvious with the lazy one-word response to everything. Now, I don't expect Superman to be 100% perfect, even in my sort of analysis with Superman and the trailers and everything so far. I said to myself, some of this CGI looks weird, and I maintain and subscribe to that opinion. Did James Gunn fix it? I guess we'll see with the finished version of the film, because he did say, I'm cutting some stuff out, there's gonna be some stuff that's fixed, I submitted my final edit, and we'll see if it flows well and better with the film. But I said some of this looks very suspect to me. Maybe that will remain, maybe it won't bother me that much, but it depends on my afterthoughts and viewing of the movie when I decide to review it myself. That's when you could get a clear analysis on what's going on. And if you just see trash, restore the Snyderverse 10,000 fucking times, you can clearly tell that you sound like a robot, all right? And then it begs the question, how am I gonna take you seriously? Is this a serious review? Did it touch upon nuance points? Did it go into detail as opposed to saying hashtag restore this, that, and the third? No, that is not a review of interest to me. That is not a review of engagement to me. That is nothing but bot activity. 100%. And it's funny that you talk about bias and truth when you're review bombing. You guess what's true? That it's true you didn't fucking watch the film if you're gonna just do that instead, okay? Number 3, reserve tickets online, but don't complete the purchase by selecting and reserving tickets. It gets taken out of the pool for a period of time, which means this has a chance from stopping gun bots from buying tickets. This is probably the stupidest point in this fucking post, because, okay, I don't know how movie theaters work for reserving seats and pulling away last minute. I believe I googled this too, and they say that sometimes if you do something like that, you get charged inconvenience fees or convenience fees or whatever. And I know that happened to me at one point because I had to pull out of a movie. I think it was Final Destination Bloodlines on my second viewing. I couldn't make it at the time, and they basically charged me like $1, $2 because it was a convenience fee. I didn't show up and see the film. Do you realize that not only are you wasting a seat, but you're also wasting money and getting charged convenience fees for doing shit like this? And the big brain theory here is that Superman tickets, when they went live, some of them sold out. I'm not fucking kidding. Some of them, look it up, some of them sold the fuck out. Therefore, there are people that already reserved the shit early, and if they sold out, then what is this whole sentence of you saying that let's stop the gun bots from having a chance of buying tickets? In your brain, if that's the case, then they already bought the tickets, right? Waiting around for a release date doesn't do fuck all, because you can reserve early. And I'm 99% sure, I'm positive you were not thinking about this when you wrote this post to begin with. This by far is the dumbest human I have seen for this Snyderverse stuff, and I've seen some pretty fucked up and nasty humans with this post of Mercury comparing the bombing, I guess, in BVS to, well, 9/11 with the hashtag. And yeah, this is why the rational Snyder folks, they don't claim you motherfuckers for doing stuff like this. James Gunn made a response, and his response was LOL. I don't know if you guys can see it. This is kind of messy, but he saw all this. Gunn fired the first shot and killed the Snyderverse. I think the Snyderverse was already like just dead in the water. Because didn't they hire like Walter Hamada for a little bit to take over, and then they hired Gunn, and they were deciding, oh, are we gonna get Dan Lin or James Gunn? You could say DC is weird and mismanaged, but I know for sure these are the facts. They wanted Dan Lin to come on board, and then Dan Lin was like, nah, I'm too busy, and then they got James Gunn. It just felt like there was someone already in front of him to head DC, and they just chose him as a backup plan after Gunn obviously was, you know, the stuff with Marvel that happened, and they let him go for a little bit, and then he sort of turned into a little bit of a free agent, and they picked him up. And he says, and I quote, LOL, I think we'll survive. I'm sure the 8 people that listen to that guy, I'm gonna go out on a limb and guess it's a guy are going to impact the course of events. He's basically saying that this is such a small vocal minority screaming that it's probably not going to affect anything big whatsoever in terms of DC. And that has the true possibility of happening. You know, we'll see how this movie tracks. Currently it's tracking for like 90 to about 120 million. And there was another post that I agree with on this Reddit that said it's going to be so much goalpost moving with the Snyderverse people and this film. When the reviews are good, they will pivot and say the critics are paid by WB. When the audience score is good, they will pivot and say Gunn bought bots to give fake reviews. When the film does well at the box office, they will say it was an MCU movie and the people who hate Zaddy went to see it. These people will never accept reality because they are in a cult. This is cult-like behavior. WB bought the seats. That's something that a cultist would say, all right? And there's been so much denials of reality. We've seen it before with AC Shadows and people not accepting the launch went well, right? It's just, if something you hate does well, dude, it's fine. The world's not over. The world's still on an axis. The world is still spinning. You're gonna be okay. This feels like therapy. Yeah, maybe some people just need therapy. Just sit down, relax, woo-saw, put your feet up, and just chill, because there's always going to be something where even if you dislike the fuck out of it, it has the possibility of going over well, and you just have to move on and let the hate go. Okay? It's like, okay, that's a rational thing to say, in my personal opinion. And then there's this guy. I'm not gonna play his video. His head is like a stone pillar. sticking out of the mountaintop, and there is no signs of life in that brain pan whatsoever. I do not like harsh critics whatsoever, because it is clear he is a Zack Snyder meat writer. All right, but what he tries to claim in this fucking video is so goddamn funny. All right, and I have to talk about this symptom of comic book film and how people are just weirdly indoctrinated, and they have this opinion where they are like, oh, if a comic book movie does not make $1 billion, it's a fucking failure. I'm going to say that is part of the dumbest shit I think I ever heard, because number one, there's always sales expectations, and this goes double at the box office. It's a little bit of more layers to it compared to something like video games, where it has to break even, a film has to break even and have legs for the second weekend or the third weekend, and keep going over and over and over until it finally breaks. And you know, it's just a lot more complexity behind it, I would say, because yes, it's a lot riding on Superman. DC's entire fucking slate of this new DC universe is riding on Superman. The pressure is on, and I believe that WB knows this. But there are people who believe you have to get $1 billion. It needs to be $1 billion, and there was some of this Snyder rumbling when the Batman was releasing, when the Batman came out, and people are like, oh well, it shows, look at this after effect of DC trying to do something different and stray away from the Snyderverse, and the movie gets like 700 million, right? And people are like, haha, it did not hit $1 billion. And I'm thinking to myself, they already greenlit the Batman Part 2. Matt Reeves is about to turn in a script for the Batman Part 2. The Penguin was a spinoff that was heavily and critically acclaimed. I think that they are loving the attention they're getting so far from Matt Reeves and everything else. Otherwise, it wouldn't, Colin Farrell wouldn't get fucking nominated for shit, right? Like, come on, dude. You have to say these are wins for WB, even if deep down inside your soul you don't want to. It feels like swallowing venom. But you gotta admit, if it does well for them, if they are happy with it, if they're not canceling the works after the fact, then obviously it's not a problem. So the Batman didn't need to make $1 billion to be successful, because we already see the after effect of that movie and the sequels and the spin-offs and all this stuff, and people want to see more. Even the delays suck, I know that, but still. Superman probably has an estimate of how much it needs to make, and it may not be $1 billion to this company to be a success. We will see what happens. If they say we're gonna keep green lighting James Gunn shit, then they don't need to make that. All right, this guy is saying this opening is gonna be a flop, and here's the funny part with this video: it's on track to make 90 million, between 90 million and 125 million, and he says it's a tank. Okay, you can tell he's a brain dead fucking idiot, because he's never gonna say that about Man of Steel. He's never gonna say that the opening weekend of Man of Steel was a tank, right? When it grossed 125.1 million in North America for the first weekend, according to Deadline. He would never say that about his father, Zack Snyder, and saying that's a tank. In his mind, that's a success. That is a successful movie. That's a successful opening weekend, all right? But this tank, fucking call the National Guard, is over, right? What the fuck? The logic of these people is just relatively astounding to me. I don't get it, honestly. Like I said, Zack Snyder is not bad as a director. He makes some good movies when he's under some sort of quality control, or maybe other people in the room trying to direct him on what to do. However, that being said, there are some stinkers that Zack Snyder has made as well, not so great films, and as I said, Rebel Moon really didn't get off the ground. I don't know what people are talking about here, but this is the fucking most pathetic stuff I've seen. Look, if you're gonna boycott a film, go right ahead, alright? However, if this movie is good, and if it does get some widespread appeal, let's just say hypothetically, don't cry. Do not cry about it, because again, you have to accept reality. Just move on. And it seems like Snyderverse people have not moved on in eternities by now. Zack's not even with DC anymore. They moved on. It's over in terms of that universe. I think kind of harassing James Gunn is funny, because that is kind of the guy that could tap Zack on the shoulder and be like, hey, make a movie for me, we're friends, right? You wrote you directed Dawn of the Dead, I wrote the movie, we're cool, we talk about ideas a lot. That's the only guy that could bring him back into the fold, and somehow, some way, you try to pit these two against each other. It's kind of weird, right? When people try to include beef and there's no beef. You ever had that situation? That shit's weird, isn't it? When people do that shit. And the last thing I kind of want to laugh at is Grace Randolph. Oh, just, I gotta clutch my chin. She believes that Superman would not knock someone's teeth out, but people seem to love it. I've read a lot of Superman comics, watched a lot of Superman cartoons and movies. Ain't never seen anyone's teeth get knocked out. He's supposed to be able to control his strength. Honestly, I think he'd be horrified if he knocked someone's teeth out. Okay. And then here's an image. If it will reload itself again, here's an image from the comics of Superman punching a guy, and I don't know if I can zoom in further, but you can see clearly that he's knocking someone about and their teeth is gone as they're on the ground. She ain't gonna respond because she knows she's wrong. Here's another image of someone getting tanked in the face. Spits out a tooth. Superman doesn't knock someone's teeth out, but the comics have already proved you wrong, lady. Grace Randolph is such a weird, brainless aficionado of, I don't even know, she's not an aficionado of comics. That does not exist. Because if she was, she would know this has happened before, and this movie is not the only thing to portray Superman knocking someone's teeth out. As you can see in these two panels, these dudes get their teeth knocked out. As for Superman not being able to, you know, control his strength, you think he'd be horrified if he hit someone full force in the face. Look, Superman has said before in the Justice League show that he holds his punches and they still hurt. They're gonna hurt like a motherfucker, right? Because he is the Man of Steel. But he says to Darkseid that this is the rare opportunity to cut loose, because I know you can take a punch this hard, and when he hits him, it's like boof. It's like an entire fucking field just destroying the city in the process, because that's how insanely strong Superman is. I'm sure hitting these humans are like, it's like a microcosm of his strength. So yes, I would assume in good faith Superman is able to scale back his strength and hit someone like this without splattering their head off, because they're not like a superhuman, super alien, souped up threat. And he hits them and he knocks their teeth out. and he can do that. Clearly this guy's not dead, right? He's not dead. He's just spitting out a little blood in his tooth. And Grace Randolph, if we scale the strength back and we say it's comparable to a human punch, you know a human can knock another human's teeth out, right? You know this. You have some awareness. You have some self-awareness. No, you don't. No, the fuck. No, you don't. You should have some awareness that another human can deck someone and a tooth might come loose or unlodge, right? And so Superman can do two types of punches where he pulls his punch, punches someone in the face, a teeth might get knocked out, but he's holding back still. And then there's the devastating punch your face into oblivion Superman strength, where he tested that out on Darkseid because he could take it, he could handle it, and that's the rare opportunity to cut loose. I can't stand all of these non-DC Comics fans. I just can't. It's the same thing with people that were complaining, oh, why is it that these robots are using the sunlight to heal Superman? I swear to God, I can't find that post now to show you guys, but I swear to God, believe me when I say this, I am not lying to you. I saw this on Twitter and my brain died. My poor medulla oblongata. My brain died, dude, because I was telling myself, you idiots, Superman heals via sunlight. Why are you complaining that they are using sunlight to heal Superman when he heals from nature? We've seen this before. What the fuck? I swear to God, it hurts so bad as a comic book fan, and seeing people's dissertations and opinions on Superman. Let's just wait until the movie comes out July 11th, please. Well, why can't we just wait? And then we can talk about what we liked, didn't like, etc. I just don't like all this preemptive bitching these days that leads to so much wrong being said about the character itself and the comic history. Let's wait until the movie releases. Please, for the love of God, just hold it until then. I don't think this boycott is going to be successful. I don't. But you could boycott if you want to, and we'll see the numbers, chief. But again, as I said, you know, if it's not successful, cool, because in my personal opinion, I keep saying this time and time again, to me, I am a movie goer. Box office is the last thing on my mind. It's all about the quality of the film itself and how well did they nail the portrayal of Superman. That's first. If they fail at that, I will let you guys know. But if they don't, then I'm gonna say, hey, I liked it. And at the same time, I feel like people are just yapping just to yap about this film, which is why you see opinions like this where, oh, punching people and punching their teeth out with Superman is wrong. Like, oh Lord. Superman getting hit by sunlight is wrong. Just, why are there so many terrible opinions about this movie and it's not even out yet? Say what you will about the CGI, but all this other stuff is just baffling to me. Anyway, I'm Renegade Operative. I'm done talking about the Snyderverse. Again, like I said, they are second to the Star Wars community in terms of their extremism and how they act. But Star Wars is probably number one. It's probably the number one spot. What did you guys think of this video? I had pain thinking about all the Vietnam flashbacks and what people were saying about this film. So hopefully this misery was worth it. I'll see you guys next time. Later.